Welcome back to Between Two FARS. I'm Warneke Miller here once again with Bob Tepfer, and we're continuing this series about contract types. And we've come to the last episode in this series, which might be the most useful one for you because it's functionally what we do here at JSC and across NASA. Hybrid contracting, building the contract you need from the tools in your toolkit, all of the contract types that are available to you under the FAR. Bob, can you tell us a little bit about how we might see hybrid contracting in our day-to-day life?
Okay, hybrid contracts I really like them because they're a conscious effort to analyze the risk with regard to various contract line items throughout a particular contract. Any contract is an allocation of risk between the government and the contractor. And to have just one type of contract means that you've gone to a high level and you really haven't analyzed what the risks are with regard to particular CLINs initially or as the contract evolves over time. Certain contracts, they ought to be fixed price because we've done it before. Other contract items, maybe they've never been done. We're looking for innovation. Folks are not completely certain what all is going to be involved, what the risks are in doing it, much less what the cost associated is going to be in doing it. They deal with targets and they try to negotiate based on what they know, but we don't want to pay a contingency for the worst case scenario, so we want to make it cost. But as life goes on and we buy more of something or we learn more about a particular technology and how it has to take place, we want to maybe change the type of contract. Or for that matter, maybe we learn more about the contractor and how they're going to perform. So I think that it's very, very critical that we examine particular line items and in the procurement strategy meeting, go line item by line item with the particular program office there, discussing with them what all is going to be involved, what they know, what they don't know. And, sometimes you'll hear folks say, okay, maybe we need an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract for the first couple of years. But later, perhaps we can negotiate into a fixed price environment with regard to those items, and we have to anticipate and address that in the contract. The reason being, maybe we know more. We've done it for a couple of years. Why should we let the contractor not have to worry about the price or the cost because of they've done it for a couple of years, and why should we shoulder more risk? Because we can push more of the risk over to the contractor as they have more knowledge. They have the incentive to figure out how to make more of a profit on that because they have the knowledge of what it takes to do it. So you can focus with regard to CLINs, and you can also focus with regard to time. And that's a wonderful thing because, for years we've had cost contracts where we bought data packages, and we'll say, you give us this information at the completion of the contract. Why did we do that? Because we wanted to consider whether or not we could go fixed price because they learned and we bought their learning and we bought the data coming out of that, and we wanted to put it to good use in a competition.
All right, let's do an example, and maybe you can tell me what sort of contract types we might have on different CLINs. NASA wants to develop this widget, but they're not exactly sure. In fact, they don't even have a prototype yet. They're not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but they know once they've got this widget up and working, they're going to need about 5 or 10 of them each year for the life of this 5-year contract. So what sort of CLINs might they have on this contract, and how would we see those CLINs used over the life of the contract?
Okay, initially, you're looking at, easily cost. And, you might want to, cost plus fixed fee. You might want to be looking at that from the standpoint, if you can figure out how to get costs down, your return on how much you're spending is going to look pretty good. The cost plus incentive fee may be if you can satisfy it and there's no safety risk, you might want to look at an incentive fee share ratio, which clearly addresses this as a new item that's never been done before. You're going to try to get targeted, but if you go above it, you're going to share in those costs. But if you come under it, you're going to share in those fees. That kind of an arrangement.
And so that CLIN would be used at the beginning of the contract as you're maybe doing research and development, maybe making a prototype of this widget?
Right. I don't
once
see
you've
that.
got a working prototype, what type of CLIN would you want on your contract?
Well, once you got a working prototype, the government is, gone into it and looked at it, examined it, seen how many hours it took to build it, what difficulties they had working with perhaps certain materials, that maybe they could lessen the number of hours of a particular skill, rearrange the skill mix. They don't need as many PhDs. They don't need as much learning, which they had to have at the inception to know how to use certain metals, certain issues of integration. Those kind of things are on the books now, less and less of that. You could, for instance, I would think you'd probably go from like a cost plus incentive, maybe to a fixed fee, and then morphing into maybe even a fixed price environment. If there's risk associated with working with certain metals, risk associated with issues of integration, or for that matter, maybe there's risk associated with GFP or schedule risk that require an associate contractor to come in, that you still might want to keep a cost environment. In a perfect world, as you could control all those things, you'd want to morph into a fixed price environment because you know more about all of it and put it in there. One other type of cost contract that I would like to mention would probably be the award fee contract. And I don't really see that as really playing a role in this, because that's more of kind of in a services environment where you need to keep the government happy and you're addressing varied issues at varied times. That would not necessarily play a role. But I could see it going from an incentive fee to fixed fee, or rather incentive fee to cost plus fixed fee to fixed price environment.
And when you're building your contract at its inception, you need to have each of those CLINs with each of those contract types within the contract at competition, don't you?
Right. But again, you have to remember, this is evolving. Mm-hmm. So let's say that there's a lot of history of problems with regard to the prototype, and you find out that working with certain metals is an issue, or you've had to default an associate contractor and you've got learning curve over on the side, and our contractor is not necessarily responsible for the other program's contract. You may have to keep a call longer than you initially, so you have to keep discretion in there as to how you want to go. But that's the direction you try to head to, because that's in the taxpayer's best interest. You get more insight as to what it takes and the risk, the less you want to have, in a totally cost environment.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk us through these different contract types and what it means to do hybrid contracting. I thank you very much, and we look forward to talking with you again on the next FARS.